Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time doing another video on Back to the Pilot. So today I'm mainly covering the 2019 series DC Superhero Girls. Now, as you know, DC Superhero Girls was a series created by Lauren Faust, who also worked with her husband on shows like Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and would eventually do My Little Pony, and eventually would end up doing DC Superhero Girls. Now, originally back in DC Nation Shorts, that lasted from November 2011 all the way to August 2014, which had these series of shorts, one of which featured her original work known as Super Best Friends Forever. And I would say I consider it a pilot to the 2019 DC Superhero Girl series. And what's interesting, there was a bit of merchandise for it. Like with Super Best Friends Forever, you had these storage boxes which featured Wonder Girl, Batgirl, and Supergirl. And you could also have gotten a Poison Ivy New York Comic Con exclusive from 2013. Now, the shorts, I would say, were meant to feature Wonder Girl, Batgirl, and also Supergirl in these 5 episodes. And throughout it, we see how some of the personalities are still the same, but the designs are a bit more different. Like Kara not looking more like the more badass, rebellious tomboy, but more like the normal tomboy. But we had Batgirl, who is still the hyperactive self, but instead of Wonder Woman, we actually had Donna Troy, who was meant to be Wonder Woman's sidekick originally in the comics. And Wonder Girl in this one doesn't act like the fish out of water. She's basically not the newcomer to the world of man. Instead, is more knowing of man's world. And what's interesting is from each short had a different premise, like Supergirl and Batgirl egging Wonder Girl to steal the invisible jet of Wonder Woman's. We also had the second short, which featured basically Batgirl going through thick and thin just to get to the location of Poison Ivy. And what's interesting is that they based the second episode when they did the movie short before the Teen Titans Go the movie called called the Late Babsy, which was also meant to feature the same premise, but instead featured the other DC superhero girls like Satana, Bumblebee, and Green Lantern in that. And also featured Mr. Freeze instead of Poison Ivy. And I would say it's interesting how they base only 3 characters. So the personalities do mix. It's like having that college friends in the group, like the hyperactive one, the voice of wisdom, and the one who acts like the badass tomboy. And I think it's interesting how you didn't have Bumblebee, Satana, and also Green Lantern. So it's kind of like seeing the 3 trio basically goofing off and having fun. And what's also interesting is there was some other concepts that featured their versions of Robin, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And it's even interesting is how quite some time later, Super Best Friends Forever would eventually become the 2019 DC Superhero Girl series. And I would say some of the new personalities do work, some of them, but I think the Super Best Friends Forever did a bit better with Superman than DC Superhero Girls, because in Super Best Friends Forever, Superman is basically the strong authority figure. Well, in DC Superhero Girls 2019, he's meant to be a jerk, but you can kind of tell they're more frenemies, even though in the comics, Clark was always meant to be a friend and a mentor to Kara, and saw her potential. So I think while the shorts are quick, you can tell they knew what they were doing. And I think it's a shame that it only lasted 5, as I remember sitting down thinking, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. Until finding out that it ended after 5 shorts. And I know there was ones for Green Arrow, Teen Titans Go, Shade the Changeman, and so many others. So I think this one gives you a glimpse of what could have been, but eventually we would get it, but as DC Superhero Girls 2019. So I think it deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.